Hey, welcome again. Like and subscribe, it'll inspire me a lot. A personal hug on the tarmac, a shared selfie in a limousine, devotional lamps spelling Welcome Putin on the banks of the Ganges. In early December 2025, India rolled out a red carpet of profound symbolic warmth for Russian President Vladimir Putin. This was not merely a state visit, it was a geopolitical statement, delivered in the full glare of a global audience. At stake is the future of the Western-led sanctions regime against Russia, the integrity of the US-India strategic partnership, and a fundamental question. In an increasingly fragmented world, can Washington dictate the economic and diplomatic choices of a major power like India? Today, we analyze the complex calculus behind India's embrace. We will examine the hard numbers of oil and tariffs, the deep history of a Cold War alliance, the domestic politics in Delhi and Washington, and what this high-stakes gambit tells us about the emerging world order. To understand the present, we must look to the past. India's relationship with Russia is not a marriage of convenience born of discounted oil. It is a special and privileged strategic partnership formalized over decades. For India, cornered in the 1970s by AU.S, Pakistan-China axis, the Soviet Union was a vital security guarantor and the source of over 70% of its military hardware. While India has diligently diversified its arms purchases, reducing Russia's share to about 36%, the relationship remains entrenched in joint production, spare parts, and deep institutional trust. As retired Indian diplomat Dilip Sinha notes, for certain defense technologies, the cooperation from Russia is far more useful than the West has ever offered. Therefore, the elaborate welcome for Putin served multiple audiences. For Russia, it was a powerful signal that, despite an international criminal court arrest warrant, Moscow cannot be isolated. For the Indian domestic audience, it projected Prime Minister Modi as a leader of stature who does not buckle under pressure from the US. And for Washington, it was a clear message: India has options. The core immediate friction is economic. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, discounted Russian crude became an irresistible economic lifeline for India, which imports nearly 90% of its oil. The savings were monumental, an estimated profit of $12 to $17 billion for the Indian economy since 2022. The US response has been a one-two punch of coercive economics. First, punitive tariffs, which India called unreasonable and unjustified. Then, sanctions on the specific Russian companies India relies on. The market reaction was immediate and severe. India's biggest refiner, Reliance, slashed orders. Imports plummeted. India's strategy is a masterclass in hedging. It publicly reduces direct imports to placate Washington while signaling to Moscow that the partnership endures. As analyst Michael Kubelman notes, the relationship is in a managed decline under Western pressure, but it is far from dead. The data suggests a likely future where Russian crude flows to India through third-party traders and a shadow fleet, which already carries 44% of Russia's crude. Beneath the oil and arms deals lies India's guiding foreign policy doctrine, strategic autonomy. This is not neutrality. It is the relentless pursuit of national interest, refusing to be tied to any single bloc. The Putin visit is a defiant affirmation of this principle. While navigating the storm with Washington, India is actively building an arc of middle power partnerships. In the same period as the Putin visit, India signed a £350 million missile deal with the UK and conducted joint carrier exercises. It also welcomed a major Australian defense trade mission and pushed for a landmark trade deal with the EU. This is not a pivot away from the West. It is a diversification of dependencies. As Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar stated, India seeks a landing point with the US, but will be extremely judicious in protecting the interests of its farmers and workers. The goal is resilience, ensuring that pressure from one partner can be offset by cooperation with another. So, how will the United States react? The Trump administration's policy has been unequivocally transactional and results-oriented. Its goal is to cripple Russia's war machine in Ukraine by strangling its oil revenue. From this lens, India's continued economic support for Russia is a direct obstacle. The likely U.S. response will operate on two tracks: continued coercion, maintaining or even escalating tariffs unless India makes significant, verifiable cuts in Russian oil imports. The threat of secondary sanctions on Indian financial institutions or refineries remains a powerful tool. Pragmatic engagement. Despite the friction, Washington's strategic imperative to balance China in the Indo-Pacific persists. This creates a paradox. The U.S. needs India as a partner but is punishing its behavior. The space for a trade deal, as mentioned by Jaishankar, exists but is fraught. American voter perspectives add another layer. For a segment of the electorate, India's actions will be seen as aiding an adversary in Ukraine, potentially fueling bipartisan frustration. For others, particularly focused on long-term great power competition with China, alienating India is a strategic blunder. The administration must balance the immediate demand to be tough on Russia with the long-term need to manage a critical Indo-Pacific relationship. The risk is that punitive actions, while satisfying a domestic political base, could accelerate India's drift toward a more independent and potentially less cooperative posture. India's welcome of Vladimir Putin is more than a diplomatic event. It is a microcosm of the emerging global disorder. It reveals the limits of unilateral coercion in a multipolar world. It demonstrates how middle powers will exploit great power rivalry to carve their own paths. And it underscores a harsh truth for the West. Its most potent economic weapons, sanctions, lose potency when major economies like India and China choose not to comply. The U.S.-India relationship is now at a critical inflection point. The foundations of shared democratic values and a common China threat remain, but they are being severely stress-tested by immediate divergences over Russia and a transactional U.S. approach. The coming months will determine whether this partnership can weather the storm. Will Washington accept India's stubborn adherence to strategic autonomy, finding a modus vivendi that isolates Russia without alienating India? Or will it double down on pressure, risking the long-term strategic geometry of the Indo-Pacific? India has sent its message with clarity. It will not be a subordinate ally. It will be a sovereign power, navigating the treacherous currents between Washington, Moscow, and its own national destiny. The world is watching to see who blinks first in this high-stakes standoff. The balance is tense, and the stakes could not be higher. Thanks for watching. This is a complex and critical moment in geopolitics. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.